Hi friends, it's Angie Power, isn't it, Angela? I'm feeling agitated, and I look at a couple of devotionals daily, and they say pray against agitation. And another one today says don't act in a carnal way, like don't be impulsive, which is hard if you've got a diagnosis, amongst other things, of ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactive disorder with impulsive behavior, a big part of that, and dissociation. So I'm not looking for sympathy, and I don't believe in labels. And sorry to those that think I ramble, which I do, to get settled. But my mind is racing. I need to go and collect my phone, which was hacked on Twitter, and has just been sorted out. So I need to go and get that. There's so much going on. I'm trying to just reground myself. So I'm going to do some things that were on my to-do list that I just haven't got to for a long time. And it's funny how clearing up my to-do list sometimes just ties in exactly with what was relevant and what's going on at the moment. So the first thing I'm going to do is share one of Josh's school projects in the interests of documenting, because my whole life does not revolve around the Hampstead case, although it often feels that way. But I want to document some of my family ancestry. So my father was apparently Irish Catholic, eldest son of 16 children. But in reality, his mother, yes, good Irish Catholic Republican stock. Her name was Annie Maha from the Glen of Ahillow, which is also I think grandparents at least of Mary Lou MacDonald, leader of Sinn Féin currently, also used to have her summer holidays in the Glen of Ahillow in Tipperary. Very tiny, small village with a pub, one pub. It was called the Caravansary, and it used to have a snug around the side or the back where women weren't allowed in pubs back in the day. And so if they wanted a drink or fellowship in a pub, they had to go into the snug, it was called. Very fond memories. We didn't have holidays as such as children, but we were, my father was in the Air Force for the first 12 years of my life, so we lived all over the world, But holidays per se were not part of the agenda. We would just go back to Ireland every summer to visit my grandparents in Dungarvan in County Waterford, and then always a side trip to Tipperary, to Great Auntie Kate and Great Uncle GER in the Glen of Ahillow, up at Boreen, in a fabulous stone cottage with no electricity and no running water. We had to bathe and clean our teeth and what have you in a freezing cold stream. But the stories that came from there, the legends, are worth documenting, even though it makes me question, so many family legends that I believed have not been as they seem. But I'd like to think that the ones emanating from my maternal grandmother on my father's side, Annie Maher, have some truth to them. There was Annie Maher, my nanan, we used to call her. There was Great Auntie Lizzie, who married 3 times. She was widowed twice, and she ended up living in Bath, in Somerset, Avon, it got changed to. There was Great Auntie Kate, who was crippled. I can't remember how or why, but she resisted any offer of wheelchairs. She used to sit in a wooden chair in the stone cottage with no electric. I'm showing my age, I'm 63. In the stone cottage with no electric or running water. And she used to shuffle on the wooden chair around the cement floor of the cottage until the chair legs wore right down, and then she would get a new chair and start again. And people like Uncle Sean, who made it big time in New York as a vice president of a bank on Wall Street, you know, or Uncle Tony, who made it big time, you know, as an entrepreneur, creator of Panache, multi-million-pound company. They would offer to buy her a wheelchair and she wouldn't hear of it. They would try and buy her a television and she wouldn't. She'd throw it out or give it away. I think they used to listen to the radio. And great Uncle Ger, and great Aunt Kate never married, so it was a bachelor and a spinster living together up a Boreen in this stone cottage. And yet they were matchmakers for counties wide, and that used to amaze me as a child. How can they advise who should marry who with no experience of being married? You know, the same as one would wonder, how could Catholic priests who take a vow of celibacy, how could they advise couples on relationships, you know, or give marital advice and so on? But they were matchmakers back in the day. GER Maha, I beg your pardon, and Kate Maha. And it was mostly based on land, who had adjoining land, who were farmers, who were, you know, it was arranged marriages. That's how it was. And then, so there was great Aunt Lizzie, who went to England. Nanan, who was Annie Power. She married to become Annie Power. There was great Uncle Michael, who went to America, Florida, I think he was based in. I'm not sure how many. And I never did, I liked my Nanan, although with hindsight, she covered up abuse horrendously with my paternal grandfather. My mother told her, your husband is interfering with me, and my grandmother allegedly said, offer it up as a penance. You know, she was devotedly, blindly Catholic. So anyway, this is a scrapbook about my son's. That's nice. This is a scrapbook about my son's stem cell clinical trial surgery. It's back to front in there, that he had in Florida, which sadly, even though it cost 25 grand, including travel and accommodation, it didn't work. So maybe there'll be another stem cell opportunity. But this is what I wanted to show you. I got my sons into a Protestant boarding school, just because the classroom sizes were very small, and one of my sons was visually impaired and the other one had ADHD, and so but it was like, it had been a Protestant boarding school and then it became open to Catholics as well. And I'd raised my children, well, I suppose loosely speaking Catholic, but then, you know, I was born again and I raised my children mostly, I suppose, in the Word of Faith movement, but kind of evangelical. But anyway, you know, all the denominations, Jesus didn't leave behind a denomination. He asked people to follow him. And so, but they went to this Protestant, you know, what had formerly been an exclusively Protestant boarding school, private school. And they brought with them their sort of, the part of our family that is Irish Republican heritage. And the school were great, they I have to say. So this is a project Josh did. I don't know, was he about 16? I don't know what the Ward Union Hunt. Oh my goodness, there's a. Yeah, I come from a hunting family. I don't approve of it, but I do come. My sister was one of the first female secretaries of the hunt, the Ballymacads, for about a decade. So this is Josh's. I don't know why he included that, but that's one of his. And then it's a project called The Person I Admire. So I'll just read it and I'll say this is based on family legend. I'd like to believe it's true. And the medal, the 50-year medal, which will feature a photograph of at the end, is genuine. My older sister has it in London. So The Person I Admire. So this is by my son, one of my sons. The person who I've chosen for this project is my auntie. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, is this the one about Uncle Joe? This is bizarre. I've started, so I better finish. Wow. This is not what I was searching for, but I'm just going to take it as a divine appointment. I was going to talk about Great Uncle Joe and his 50-year IRA service medal, which Josh has documented in a folder somewhere, a photograph of. And this is the original freedom fighters going back to 1916, and Michael Collins and so on. And I better tell that story because it looks like I've stumbled on a different project, which is going to be hard for me to read given the history with my sister. But I'll just finish the brief story of Great Uncle Joe. So we would visit every summer and it was wonderful, and they were matchmakers. And Uncle Joe was in a platoon of the original freedom fighting Irish Republican Army. And he had a wonderful pony. I remember the pony very well. It was a piebald, I think. And that he could go fields away. I think he had about 70 acres, 60, 70 acres. And he would go fields away, like making hay or whatever. And he could, you know, bring the pony fields away from the cottage, load it up with hay, and then just give the pony a tap, and the pony would go on his own back to the barn beside the cottage to be unloaded, and then back to wherever he was working in the field without anybody on board. The pony was just adorable. And similarly, one of my great uncle's jobs was to collect milk from the different farmers and bring it to the creamery. And the legend, one of the legends amongst my father and my uncles, was that Great Uncle Joe would collect the milk all the way along the way and deliver it to the creamery. And then on the way back, I don't know if he would deliver the money for it or what the arrangement was there, but the pony used to stop at several pubs on the way back on the route, just automatically, just like literally stop. I mean, I thought I heard a rumour of 11 stops at pubs on the way home, but God forbid, 11 pints, that's a lot, you know. But anyway, so, but one of the days, my great Uncle Joe was due to meet the rest of his platoon fighting the Black and Tans and the Brits, basically. And for some bizarre reason, this canny old pony would not leave the boreen, would not, no matter what. I think my great uncle was on a pony and trap, and no matter how my great uncle coaxed or you know, spanked or whatever, encouraged the pony, he needed to get to meet his platoon. The pony wouldn't go. And it took him about 2 hours. He had to untack the pony, put the pony back to rest, and try again an hour or two later. And when he eventually got to the place of where the meeting was scheduled, his entire platoon had been ambushed and killed. He was the only survivor. So that on some level, the pony had known. And that might have been connected to him getting this Medal of Honor for 50 years service. Which, if this is not what I found, which it doesn't, or it might be in here, we'll see if it's in here. It's very, very strange for me, but let's just carry on. So I thought that was what this project was about, but maybe it's not. So it says, the person I've chosen for this project is my auntie. Her name's ANNEMARIE Galligan, and she inspires me in my riding. Yeah, my son is a great horseman, helping me to be braver and braver. She's taught me to jump really high and gallop and take care of horses. This project's about her life and how she came to know about horses. ANNEMARIE's been riding since she was only 7 years old. My auntie was on the Ballymacad hunt chase team and went very far, yeah, she even representing Ireland in international competitions. Annemarie and her teammates won cups and even took trips to England. The couple of times they went, they did not come back disappointed. The first time Annemarie and her teammates were on the Sky High television channel, they were delighted with themselves. They also went to the Royal Horse Show in the RDS in Dublin for many years. All the other teams were dreading the Ballymacads turning up. They only competed every other year, usually. They always came either first or second and were sometimes on RTE2. My other aunties often went to see the Ballies at the RDS, and there would be lots of supporters from Oldcastle, all standing and cheering and shouting. The tension would be unreal. Annemarie buys her own horses at a very young age, not broken. She spends lots of time and work to get them ready for the sales, or if the horse is really good, she might keep the horse and use them for daily lessons. Annemarie has up to 20 horses or more. She has about 9 ponies, which are used for lessons every day of the week. I ride most of them. Annemarie's grown up around horses and animals. Her first pony was called Snowman, and he was blind in one eye, but he was a fantastic pony club pony, and she won loads of rosettes on him. Once Annemarie ran away from home, and after many hours searching, my granddad found her asleep in the stable with her pony and her dog. That's true. The horse Annemarie had the most success with is Zoe, a coloured horse that she bred herself. This is the one Annemarie is on in the paper when they won the hunt chase in England. This horse is quite old now, but Annemarie still hunts on her, and everyone says how fantastic she is for her age. Zoe is the hunt master's horse, which means she's the most experienced. She got this award 3 years running from 2003 to 2006. It's going to make me cry, actually. Annemarie's very proud of her horse, and she has a funny sign beside Zoe's stable that says, "My horse is more pampered than my husband." And then it says the end. Oh, God. So then my granddad at Rainbow Farm with the mural painted beside the horse. There's a mural on the hay barn painted by an Irish-American guy called Chuck O'Connor. My mum rode her horse 120 miles to get her horse from university and raised about 10,000 for charity. Yes, sadly, even though it was for Stoke Mandeville, that was through Jim Will Fix It when none of us knew. There's my beautiful blue, my beautiful mare that I rode to my wedding. God. Ballymacads taking on the best of England. That's my sister. I hope these show up the right way and not in reverse. Yeah, there's more. Oh, right. So this is the same project, but he seems to have done more than one subject. The old IRA. The old IRA was formed during the war between England and Germany because Ireland was, the war between England and Germany, because Ireland was sick of England running our country. So Ireland sent a telegram to Germany to send a shipload of guns so we could spring a surprise attack from behind. So Germany sent a ship over to Ireland, but on the voyage, the English warships found the ship and fired at it. The general let the ship sink because if the English got the amount of firepower on that ship, they would have been unstoppable. My family in the IRA, imagine presenting this as a project at a formerly exclusive Protestant school in the Republic of Ireland. God love him. My family in the IRA. My great-great-uncle GER, who lived at the foot of the Galtee Mountains in a small stone cottage up a long, windy boreen, was awarded a medal from the old IRA for 50 years faithful service from 1921 until 1971. My granddad minds it, and it's very precious to him. And when he dies, he will leave it to his eldest daughter, my Auntie Kathy. Great-great-uncle GER was a soldier in the Tipperary branch. During the war, he was renowned for being a crack sniper shot at the Black and Tans. He used to hide his rifle in a natural ledge in the bank of the mountain stream by his house. One time, great-great-uncle GER was doing an IRA message with secret papers hidden in the wheel of the cart. But when he was halfway down the mountain past, the mule, well, it was a pony actually, refused to go any further. And in spite of great-great-uncle GER trying his best, the mule still refused to budge. So he had to turn back. And he found out the next morning there was an ambush where he was supposed to deliver the papers. So the mule saved his life. My great-great-uncle Michael. My great-great-uncle Michael was another active member of the Tipperary branch of the old IRA and was involved in many dangerous missions. And in the end, the Black and Tans were so determined to catch him that the IRA paid his passage to America. They paid him a pension and he spent the rest of his life there and sent loads of parcels. He always used to send parcels home, great-great-uncle Michael. The Black and Tans used to tie the IRA prisoners to armed vehicles to make them scream to get information. The Black and Tans were the most notorious brigade of the British soldiers. They were convicts in England and they were offered to fight the Irish IRA instead of serving their sentences. Once my granddad took a look at my great-great-uncle GER's gun and the cartridge wouldn't go in. So he got a stone and started banging it in, and then it just shot, and he shot the metal toe cap off his boot. And he was lucky he didn't lose his foot. And there was black soot everywhere on his face, and he went inside screaming, and he got in deep trouble. My son must have gone and talked to the family members for this project. This is precious. History of the IRA. I still need to do some more research on this because the books I got from the library were very long and hard to understand. There are some films out on video that I will watch, like Michael Collins and In the Name of the Father. Mummy takes us on Easter parades to commemorate the Easter Rising in 1960, which I did. I was very active with Sinn Féin when I first came back to Ireland in 1996. This is where the Irish who wanted home rule and the Brits to get out of Ireland tried to fight the Brits, and they took over the General Post Office in Dublin. They were very brave and noble, but the Brits defeated them and they were shot by firing squads in the battle. Lots and lots of rebel songs have been written about this. Also, in the 70s, an IRA man who went to prison said he should be treated like a prisoner of war because he was fighting for the freedom of his country, which was an honourable cause. Prisoners of war were allowed to wear their own clothes and were treated a little better than common criminals. Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of England at that time, and she was very fierce and wicked. So cute. And said that she would never give in to the IRA, and she said they were common criminals and scum. So this man, I think he's talking about Bobby Sands, and about 23 others went on hunger strike until they would be recognised as soldiers and not criminals. 2 of them, including Bobby Sands, got elected to the British Parliament, which shocked and disgusted Margaret Thatcher. Then about 10 of them died on their hunger strikes, and people all around the world were shocked and sad and angry. Yeah, I campaigned for the H Block when I was at university. After loads of suffering and many mammies very sad because their sons had died, the British government eventually gave in and the prisoners were treated with dignity like proper soldiers fighting for freedom. The reason Margaret Thatcher was in charge was because the north of Ireland, which has 6 counties, is still under British rule. Sinn Féin, which is the political party that represents the modern IRA, is working very hard for the north to rule itself and not be told what to do by England. This might happen this year, in 2006. Oh my God, this was 2006. Gosh, 14 years ago. The end. References: Granddad, Auntie Kathy, Mammy, Home Ruled by Alvin Jackson, A Secret History of the IRA. God. Great Uncle Jer's cottage in the Glen of Ahelo at the foot of the Galtee Mountains. And in this picture, we've got two nuns. We've got Great Auntie Kate in her chair. Might be Great Uncle Jer behind. And I'm not sure. I'll see how well that shows up. This isn't the ideal way to show. I wish I had a PA who could scan everything in for me. Great Uncle Joe and Granddad. Wow. Wow. Great Uncle Joe working in the cottage in 1972. That's my father. And Great Uncle Joe. That's the cottage as well. Now, my great uncle Joe was a bit naughty. As I said, him and Auntie Kate, Great Auntie Kate, never had children. And their sister Annie, my nanan, did have 16 children. And Great Uncle Joe always used to manage to get one or two of her children to come for 3 months every summer and work on his 60 acres, bringing in the harvest, and and he would always promise them that one day the farm would be theirs, and they would work for nothing, you know, believing that one day they might own a farm. And I believe that might have been where my father's dream was, to own a farm, which he managed to realize, but it was a con. He was getting slave labor, really, because particularly having been a matchmaker, he would never have seen the farm go out of the family to distant relations from Dungarvan in Waterford. When he died and Auntie Kate died, everything was left to a nephew that lived in the Glen. Great Uncle Jack. I've never heard of Great Uncle Jack. Oh, gosh. Oh, and this is the pony. I remember his faithful pony. Look, the coloured pony. I'm even in this picture, my mum and us 5 girls. Wow. This is just history. I love that my son documented this. Now, this is my Great Uncle Joe's 50-year medal. The front and back. My sister's got this in London. Probably not the best way to show it either. 1921 to 1971. And then he goes to do a project about drugs and alcohol, which is great. Yeah, this is, for some reason, he's got all 3 of his assignment projects from that year in 2006. So the first one took me by surprise. And it really breaks my heart that he so adored his Auntie Anne-Marie. And yet, because of the division caused by my parents from our infancy set us against each other. So Anne-Marie used to hero worship me when I, particularly in my London days, and I was modelling and I had a beautiful apartment, and she just thought I was the most exciting sister ever. And we don't talk now. We could pass each other outside the chemist and just stare and keep walking, My father did a deal with her where he sold her. At that time, our farm was valued about $250,000, maybe 15, 20 years ago. And he sold it to her for 70 grand, a bit more, secretly, having, again, promised it. It's funny, just saying that, my father repeated history, because having been conned every summer working like a slave for Great Uncle Joe on the farm, my dad also promised all of us that it would all be ours. We worked from the age of 8, you know, and promised, you know, it'll all be years when I'm gone. And then he did a deal with ANNEMARIE. She actually got a fantastic job in London at 19 with British Telecom, really well paid job. And that's when my father said to her, if you come home, meaning to Ireland, I'll leave the farm to you and just you know, but she had to keep it a secret. And in the end, he made her buy Sharon's cottage for, you know, 70 grand, so that mum and dad could move off the farm and Phil and ANNEMARIE could take it over. But even they didn't get the mortgage in their name. It was other Gallagher family members that helped with that. It was just such a mess. But I do blame my parents, because part of MK Ultra programming and intergenerationally abusive family programming is to set siblings against each other. It's absolute programming to fight and compete to the death. You know, it's like gladiator stuff. It breaks my heart because I love my sisters. So then he's got lots of newspaper cuttings on drugs, and I'm glad to say my children, none of them went down, thank God, went down the drugs route, you know. And it was something I was always very passionate, having like worked in the West End and seen, you know, the reality of heroin addiction back in the 70s. It was something I passionately said to my children. It's like, you know, I want you to be honest with me, but just trust me. You know, I had a boyfriend he had septum collapse from cocaine. He died in the end. He lost everything. After I left him, he married a beautiful, beautiful air hostess, I think from Iceland, had a baby with her. She left because of his cocaine addiction. He had a beautiful apartment in Porchester Place, number 2, I think it was. He lost that. He had a fantastically successful real estate business in the West End. He lost that. He lost everything and he died. So, you know, I was able to, you know, pass on to my children that just don't go down the hard drugs road. There's no winners in that. So that's that part of history I wanted to share. And I'm going to do in the next video, because I'm trying to just distract myself as well from the Hampstead case, which is at a very crucial stage, and please keep praying. It's looking like very good news, but we're not home yet. We're on the home straight, but we're not home yet. But these are also things I want to do, is to document. Like, that's so moving to me, just reading that project from 2006. And I'm grateful to the school, because when both boys had graduated, the headmaster and the deputy head said, we've learned so much from your children, you know, like they have stretched us, and we've learned as much from them as we hope we've taught them. You know, it was the Royal School in Cavan, and it was a blessing. It was a blessing, and I'm grateful for that. So that's the Great Uncle Joe and the old IRA story, and some photographs which you know, perhaps I'll be able to scan in at some time. Thanks for listening. AngelaSCashes.org, Angela Power Disney on Facebook and YouTube.